everybody. Good morning. Welcome to this fantastic webinar with regards to the topic. I will allow Kamani Naidoo, who is the host of this webinar today, to obviously present the topic and lead the topic. We do have one speaker that's running a bit late, Melanie. As soon as she enters, then Kamani will welcome her. Everybody enjoy the session. And us as males, let's listen and learn to apply, not listen to walk away and have our own thoughts. Welcome, ladies. Carmen, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you to everybody that has joined us on this wonderful topic, elevation of women or motherhood within the workplace. It's just not an open secret that being a mother can be very challenging for many of us, whether it's a woman or, a guy, a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. But being a mother is just very complex. Us as women specifically, we face multifaceted tasks. It requires lots of energy, lots of effort, lots of resources. And with us in today's day and age as modern moms, whether modern or older moms, it doesn't really matter. But the increasing of moms working within the workforce has led a rise in their challenges that we face every day. Today, together, I welcome my colleagues, the wonderful, beautiful women that are on this particular webinar and this platform today, as we celebrate today what motherhood is. I myself, being a new mom, as of recently raising 2 little boys, it's been a joy, but also lots of struggles and challenges and being, within the balancing act. With us all today, we've got lots to share and we've got lots of verbatim, so we can change the narratives and how we actually go forward within our counterparts within the workplace, whether we in enterprise or SMEs, etc. It doesn't really matter, but we do face struggles today. I'm going to hand over and open the platform to my fellow colleagues that are sitting here today, and Tanya and Dr. Yolanda. We've also got our fellow custodians, which is from the Customer Service Symposium, around some of these vast topics that we ourselves suffer in silence on a day-to-day, sometimes being forced to because we've got to, keeping quiet around our fear and just putting up the smile. But I think today we've got no other choice but to air it out so that we ourselves can take back the power of what we really want it to be. So today, as we speak more around the challenges and struggles that we face by working moms like ourselves, tell me, guys, us on the panel, what are your thoughts around this? Because we all have been through it one too many times.
So, Yolanda, I'll go if you don't mind. Firstly, I just want to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day for Sunday, and even those dads that actually also play the role of mothers. Well done to you. There are a lot that I know that are also juggling the balls like we do. So happy Mother's Day to you. I'm Antonia Oakes, and today I'm speaking about elevating motherhood in the workplace. Hopefully I can share some of my experiences. But for me, just listening calmly to what you are talking about, and I'm thinking, we need support structures. We need a whole lot of people to help us to ensure that we are better or meet the expectations that our male colleagues do in the workplace. And I'll speak in the scenario of corporate. If we have to look at gender pay, and that for me has always been just a glaringly obvious pain in any organization, but even in South Africa and countries as a whole. Can we not just, let me say, attack or address that as a topic today? Because, and I feel more and more that females should actually be paid a bit more because we have more responsibilities in the home. We have more responsibilities in the workplace because we're doers. We are action orientated. We get the job done. I've always made this joke to say, how many successful males, CEOs, COOs, entrepreneurs, anywhere, how many females do they have behind them? And let's face it, we get the job done. I'm not blowing our horns, but I can blow the horns for us, you know.
Of
So
course, yes, you can.
that is the one topic I think, Yolanda, maybe you speak so well, you knowledgeable of all of this. Just share on the gender pay issue, because that's a big thorn in my side. We're trying to address it, but it's taking a bit too long, in my view. I think you're on mute.
Okay, am I audible now? Okay, fantastic.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I was always going to speak to the wind there for a second. But you know what? This is the thing, because when we speak about gender pay and the inequality in terms of that gender pay gap, it is a real thing. It is a real thing. And coupled with that is also the unpaid part of it, where women go home, they're tending to kids, they are looking after their households as well as coming into business. So there's a lot of the portion that men do not have, even if it's not physical tangible money, but you know what, our time still equates to money. So those are the things that what we've got to address, not only within our homes but also within corporate. And I think for the longest time women has been canvassing around this topic because we are action orientated. And if we look at, for argument's sake, if we look at where companies that has got a very strong drive when it comes to diversity and inclusion and equity, they operate at least 35% of women that is high potential in the high potential pool, or in leadership, compared to, or maybe 23%. Let's say 23% of companies that's driven in that direction, where they look toward women in leadership because of our skill sets. They're operating at 23% better than our companies, our top end companies that's not looking at females in leadership. In our euros, and that's 14%. That is a big thing. And if we look at, we were speaking about this before we got onto the webinar, that we do not see any female faces in politics. Currently in South Africa, as we're coming to 18 days before our elections, from the state. But if we look at it globally, only 36% of parliamentary seats are taken up by women. So if we look at top end jobs and we're looking at the small percentage of women that is seated in those jobs, what is the home takeaway net package? It will be lower tiers, right? So I think if we can change it from top down, get more women in that position, in leadership, taking away those strong packages as well, because I find that women are not, most women, we don't only do this to empower ourselves. Have you noted, we think about everyone else before we think of ourselves. And we will then look after our families, extended families, the community, the auntie that needs a packet of sugar, the friend that's maybe going to divorce that needs a place to stay, etc. We do so much more for that paycheck that we bring home. And I think that is one of the things that we also need to know compared to our male counterparts. Not that I'm saying males do not help, of course they do, but women, we just have a special knack of, kind of like, extending that ecosystem just a little bit more.
Yeah. Thanks, Yolanda. Tell me, what would you give tips, or what type of tips that you would have come across from your own challenges, like what you've just expressed now? What can we share with our audience?
Well, as Antonia said, support structure.
What
Yeah,
type of tips?
support structure. If we look, I always take an example of a bottle. Imagine this is a bottle in my hand, right? So as women, we open up that cap every single morning and we're pouring out a little bit of our energy, getting the kids ready for school. We pour out a little bit of our energy, worrying about, are they okay and are they fed? We pour out a little bit of energy into our workplace. This is all before we even leave home. We pour out much of our energy into our workday, making sure that everything is running okay, whilst we are multitasking on so many thoughts. Because by the time it gets to mid-afternoon, we are already thinking evening. What are the kids going to eat? What am I going to do for supper? How am I going to run my household, etc. So by the time we get home, we have this little bit of energy left in that bottle. And you know what I find the funniest thing is? The moment women start taking care of themselves, have you noted that's where the men come in? And with this little bit of energy that we have, they're complaining about this little bit of energy. Do you know how much we've poured all day? We've poured.
I'm
So
smiling because I know what you're saying. It's the struggles that we face, on a day-to-day basis. But at the end of the even though it's a struggle, it's still a joy because we've got beautiful
absolutely.
children. But it's worth it. But like you said, I love it. It's about the balance. It's about the boundaries that we associate ourselves with, and it's about not about saying yes, 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 I will. It's about no, can somebody else please, can you go ahead and do it? And I think with the women that are sitting and listening, or the people that are listening to this, it's about how we deal with guilt, right? We deal with a lot of guilt. If we say no, we go away and we're like, shit, you know what, we should have actually done this. It's about us. It makes us feel guilty, and how do we overcome that? And again, coming back to Antonio, the discussion we were having, it's about how we were, I think, how we were brought up, what was fed to us, what was told to us that had become our reality. Because, for example, like, just navigating towards the social dynamics, whether
Yes.
it's the workplace or whether it's at home or whether it's wherever, it's how do we carry ourselves out. And again, it's about the boundaries. We were chatting about how we actually say yes to a lot of things when we're in the workplace, because it's also fear. It tugs at a lot of biasness of emotiveness within ourselves. It's the fear. It's about how do we stand up. It's about our counterparts, whether they're male or somebody more dominant than us. Uh, you know, and if we have to go away and have a baby, for example, what does that actually mean to our jobs? And all of these things, they also self-associated to exactly the same topic. And because of that, we keep quiet. And I know when I worked at corporate, the challenges is, you're only heading towards that performance scorecard because you're afraid that somebody else would actually do this. And then where does it lie for you? And, how does that all associate itself? But before I go any further, I'd like to welcome Melanie. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. We're really looking forward to engaging with you and having this wonderful conversation so that we could try to make a dent to, within the people and that are actually listening to us on this wonderful topic. So tell me, ladies, when it comes to kids and coping with emotional demands, besides the pay part of it and working, how do we, as working moms, it becomes emotionally draining. I think we touched on that. But can we speak a little bit more? Because post COVID, mental wellness and well being has become very evident that nobody really wants to speak about. But now people are speaking about it because that's what's been happening for the last few or last year and a bit, 2 years, 3 years. How are we coping with these emotional demands that we experience, whether it's work, a business, or even yourself? How are you coping with that?
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be on this platform with fellow mommies and one little daddy sitting over there as well. Um, so, Kamina, you're talking about pre-COVID and how it affected your personal life in raising kids. Well, when COVID started, I had a adult in the house, my daughter, and it was quite difficult for them being closet up inside the house with me, obviously, because who wants to be cooped up with your mom 24/7? So a lot of emotions from a childlike's side came out where they got frustrated. Um, they couldn't understand, they couldn't comprehend why they were kept in. It's like being, how would they say, grounded. I mean, I was also grounded and I'm an outgoing person. So you had to adapt, and that meant you as a mom with your years of experience didn't actually help. You had to go back, go do lots of learning to understand how do you manage a a situation like this or like that, because none of us were ever exposed to being told, look, you can't go anywhere, the country is locked down, you can't go to the shop, you deprive from a lot of things. How do you handle with your child's emotions, not understanding they can't go and see their friends, they can't go to the mall, they must be cooped up with an adult, and with being cooped up with an adult there was rules, and at that time the rules became very imminent and it became very harsh, because you had to tell them you cannot use so much cool drink, who's going to go to the shop, because if the cops find you on the road you must have a good explanation. So all of these emotions actually affected the kids in a way that we as parents had to go dig very deep to make them understand the situation that the country was in. They couldn't go to school. Work, we were working. I had to go into work. So I had to explain to them, I can go, you guys need to stay. Don't go outside. You will get locked up. I can't be running from town to come and tell the cops, wow, they don't know. It's all things that we had to explain to them very slowly, and like taking out the marker and saying, this is the do's and that's the don'ts. And kids don't want to hear the don'ts. They only want to hear the do's. So as a parent and being alone, it was difficult to transfer and bring this over to children that doesn't know life actually out there, and having to understand that this is how far it goes. You can only go as far as the yard gate. You can't go further than that. If you want to get an imaginary friend, kick ball with a friend outside. But that's as far as it goes. So I had to implement things that they grew up with. Like my son had an imaginary friend, so I had to bring that imaginary friend back into the circle again and tell him it's okay to have an imaginary friend in the time that we were in COVID. So it's difficult for a mother or any other parent to make a child understand that there's change, and every day the world changes and life is all about change, and COVID was a change for us and something that we had to adapt to. So that's from my side. Thank you.
I just,
Thanks so much for that, Melanie.
if I may, Kamani, can I just add on to that?
Yes,
The
please.
mental wellness. I think COVID highlighted a lot. It kind of brought to the surface a lot. People were more aware of the fragility of life. But when we even speak to that, as women, we could be crying on the pillow. The moment that baby runs through the door, there is a smile on our face. So what do we do with all of that bottled up emotions? Because,
Yeah.
and it's not even crying because you're hurt. Sometimes you cry because you're exhausted. Sometimes you
Mm.
get to the level of being in business and being a mum. And like you said, we feel guilty when we say no. As women, we also suffer with that imposter syndrome. Like, am I good
Yeah.
enough? Like when I get to this point of my career, will I then think that I'm worthy? And you look back on everything that you've done, and everybody's saying, oh, you've done so much. Well done. Congratulations. And in your mind, you're going, I haven't even
Yeah.
anything. And I think we hold ourselves to such a high standard that because we're also so busy with everything, and I'm going to stop right here, but have you noted as women, we celebrate everyone else, and we
But
give
ourselves.
when we celebrate people, but we do not celebrate ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. I have to agree with that. Antonio, you were saying?
I just wanted to add on. So I remember, and it's a bit of a story. I like to tell stories. My daughter turned 21, I think it was, during COVID. And just to take a leaf out of that generation's book, they created an app called, because they are such social beings and they love being together, they created that online party app of some sort, right? I forget the right name. And she had a party. She had her party on the app. It wasn't the way she wanted it to be, but she had her friends present. They were on the big screen. It was a party app that was created during COVID. Generation Z, I think they are. Um,
Yes.
but that made me realize that through it all, good and bad, you need to find that inner fire, that inner spark. You need to ensure, Yolanda, to your point, that our cup is always filled. I must say, in hindsight, because I love reflecting, I'm very honest when it comes to reflecting about myself. I became a more impatient and angry person after COVID. Don't know why, but I could feel it within myself. And I took a step back and I said, no, Antonia, this is not you. If a friend has to describe who you are, you know what they'll say. So you need to get back to that stage. And yes, I did. How did I do it? I did it through CrossFit. I said, I'm going to find my inner strength through weights being strength, through that. And I did that. But why am I telling the story is you have to be authentic enough to define or understand and be aware of yourself, self-awareness of what happened, why did it happen, who are you, and how do you get back to who you are. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I think that is, it's so important. Self-reflection, it should be the foundation. You know, at the end of every day, especially my day, because it's normally very hectic, just like you guys, just between business, family, and just looking after my kids. My life is just hectic. And at the end of every day, around 10ish in the evening, I sit with a cup of tea and I just self-reflect. It's so important to do that because you get to know who you really are. That alone time, especially with what you ladies have said, the way we can operate even within the workspace is exactly the same. Finding that inner self, same with me, that's exactly what I had to do, is sometimes you find yourself being so overwhelmed with so many things around you. Just looking within yourself to bring yourself back to where you were makes you much more better and stronger. And I love the fact that your cup is, even though it's empty, you find that point to make it full again. And you've got to persevere. You've got to be strong enough. And, my mom always used to say it. We as women, how we brought you guys up compared to how things are happening nowadays is very different. The generations have changed. The stress levels have changed. And sometimes we just move along the stress levels and embrace it because we're moving with the times. But sometimes you've got to put a full stop, take a step back. And I love what Antonia said. Look within yourself, start self-reflecting, self-awareness, and find out what is for you and what is not for you. I always use this word when I first started working, the process of elimination. Now I understand very well what that actually means because that is all of our realities. So I'm going to pause for a little while. We do have a question, or it's actually not a question. It's a fair enough statement. This is actually from Rodney Blau. Thank you so much for that. That's listening in. He says, are there any suggestions for us as business owners or CEOs regarding flexible terms pertaining to recruitment of women? Yolanda?
To be honest, I'm not certain really what the listener is actually asking for. Is it saying that, when we're recruiting women, should we include flexible times? Or is it women within the office and offering them currently that flexible time? And what does that actually look like for a company? In most countries, well,
Yeah.
some countries we have 4-day work weeks and it works well because people are very disciplined. In South Africa, I'm sorry to say, I do not foresee that same discipline come forth like it does in Japan or elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
But in terms of, maybe if I could just look at the recruiting of women, we need to look at what that company, what that CEO is standing for. Is he seeing the value of women within his company, as women in leadership positions, within business units, etc., because of their capabilities? I think also we just have to raise our hands here. Women are sick and tired of getting positions. Because remember, we went through this whole phase of this last 12 years where women were getting positions. We want to be known for our skill sets. We want to be known
And
for our
merit.
abilities and for, thank you, Kamani. We don't want to just be put there so we can fill your equity sheet, but then we are not actually placed within the position. Our voices are not heard. And I think that is slowly changing within the corporate. But just also to come back to the listener as well, I just love the fact that we have men on this platform that's going, all right, so what alternatives exists? So let's commend that gentleman. What alternatives exist for women, whether when we recruit them into the company, or how do we look at our women within the company? Because remember, the moment you're changing people, you're changing your company culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Antonio?
So maybe just to add on and try and address the question or give some suggestions. So I must say, yes, COVID wasn't good, but it wasn't all bad as well. So the one thing that created flexibility, and especially for women, was the hybrid working. As much as in the first few months, I think women worked longer hours because they thought that their security of their work is being affected and they will lose their jobs. And that's what drove, let me say, employees to work longer hours because of that fear of the unknown, that fear that we're going to get retrenched because of COVID, because of losses in the economy, etc. But it really opened up the world of flexibility. Women could spend more time with their kids. Women could go to the shop when they needed to go to the shop. And a lot of the employers decided, you know what, it's about output, it's about productivity. It's not about how we got to the output and productivity. And if I have to fast forward to where we are now, a lot of the employers are now considering, do we go back to full-time employment? And that is going to have an impact, a tremendous impact on the flexibility that we now know. I can tell you, we even changed the way we think about staff having side hustles. We started encouraging staff to have side hustles as long as their output and their productivity is not impacted. So how do we go back? I think the flexibility is still about either 4-day week or it's the hybrid working. Let's face it, we're so used to flexibility now. To go back to full-time in the office is going to be an issue, in my view.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for that. I think from my side is being the managing director and co-founder of Sky. We employ a lot of women and men. It doesn't really matter, but we employ people based on merit. When it comes to any type of recruitment, just based on my own experience working at corporate or in consulting firms, etc., I have learned quite a lot. And just answering that question from a flexibility, we want to encourage people to work. This is just my own opinion, just to as a disclaimer. We want to look at the recruitment process from a flexibility perspective. We have pushed. I mean, we've closed our offices where we now have all our staff working from, I mean, they do work at clients because they are consultants. But if they do require anything further, we've set up office spaces for them in their homes. We do give our women specifically more flexibility when it comes to kids that are, their children that are sick, or we've taken a leaf out of one of our clients. I'm not just certain if I can mention it, but out of our client's own field, where we have given women a little bit more grace when we give them a little bit of an allowance, which is a percentage, and I won't give the amount, but that amount actually contributes towards the feed or nan that they need to provide for their children. We also do have a playroom for them. When they do come out, we have booked one out once a month where they do get to know other people from a socialization perspective. And knowing me, I am a transformation mentor and coach within Southern Africa and outside. And my main aim is to encourage that women are empowered in different ways and enabled in different ways. And we would want our CEOs, whether they're male counterparts, to look at recruitment being differently. When you do recruit women, do not look at them as if they've got kids. I know many, many, many male recruiters from senior roles want to know, how large is your family? How large is your tent? They want to see from a responsibility and accountability, when you do happen to get onto their workplace, can you handle the stress? But again, it comes back to support structures, wellness, talking about things freely. If something is not right, how do we make that, accomplishment from an organizational perspective? But we have to be aware and self-aware of what is going on, and not to label women when you are recruiting them. Recruit them for what they can do and the asset and value that they bring to your business. And I think from my side, that's literally what it is. It is about the flexibility. I call it the F word, and you can make F into any way or understanding of what that possibly could be for you. But my F word is, Eileen, is on flexibility. The second thing that you guys spoke about very nicely is around the culture. Like our business, we very culture based before skill based. Culture based means that you and I resonate on the same values, same things. When you go out, you do represent yourself as an individuality. You've got to allow people to be individualities, because we are all individual. We bring certain things to the table that contribute towards a whole 10 finger, for example. So we need to look at things very, very differently. We need to take things the way we think has changed. Post-COVID it's no longer how pre-COVID was. We become braver. We've become more embracing of things. We've become so adaptable to change that we do not lean on organizations no longer to bring in our bread and butter. So it's things for us to think about. It's food for thought for us to ponder on, in terms of how do we actually make lots of things a reality. And that is purely by changing the way we think, and from a culture perspective as well. So that was a good question. Tell me, Antonio, I see you smiling on that side. Tell me, just from an elevation of conversation, you quite known in Southern Africa around conversations and how we elevate conversations. How do we continue to advocate for these types of suggestions that we all speak about when it comes to women in leadership positions within Southern Africa?
Kamani, as much as I'm known for conversations, I'm also known to bring the elephant into the room, which doesn't make me very popular at times. But because I am an authentic being and I believe in the truth, and if you cannot bring the elephant into the room, how are you going to address the issue? So, sitting in boardrooms, and I've been doing that for over 20 years now, hasn't been easiest. And maybe just a quick story. I was sitting in a boardroom full of men the one day, men of different color. And I suggested, because there was a vacancy for head of procurement, and I suggested to the executive of the area, wouldn't you want to find a female to balance, at least start balancing out your team? And he looked at me and he said, no, females are supposed to be in the kitchen washing dishes. And I looked at him and I said, sorry, what did you say? Just repeat. I think I heard something wrong. And he says, no, you heard me. I said, "Oh, well, sorry for you. I was born to be in the boardroom and you will leave before I do," and which he has. Um, but the next day, I bought him a bottle of Sunlight liquid and yellow gloves. And I went to find him in a boardroom and I made sure he was in a meeting and I gave it to him and I said, "How are you? This is for you to come and help me wash those dishes, or better yet, go help your wife washing those dishes." So it's the change that we want to see. Be the change that we want to see. And guys, that's a true story, eh? It's a true story. I'm not making it up. Um, it just flabbergasted me that in the 20th century, we still have senior leaders that can actually say something like that and actually say to someone who has just come back from maternity leave, "Are you going to have another baby?" in a meeting. Like, how do you say that? I do not condone that. Yes, we have to do things respectfully, but I think I saw a meme the other day that says when a woman speaks up, then they label you as angry or label you as bullish. Why? We are finding our voices. And Kamini, to your point, how do we elevate this? How do we bring it to the fore? You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. You have to be strategic. And then I sit back and I think, but why do we, because we are the gender that we are, need to be all those things? And yet when a male wants to say something, they just say it and they are heard and respected for it. And then I ask myself, why? Why? But we cannot be discouraged. We have to fight the good fight. And we have to do it with the good intentions that we want to see come out. And when we do it in that fashion, it always works out. So, my words of encouragement today to everyone on the webinar, even the speakers, keep on fighting the good fight. The work will always come through. The good will always come through. It's not easy. Some days you go to bed thinking, "I'm a troublemaker," or "I just can't keep my mouth shut." But I was not born to keep my mouth shut, and I'm not a troublemaker. I'm just telling the truth. So yeah, that's from my side,
100%.
Kamini.
Thank you so much for that. And just coming back to that, it speaks a lot about all the things that are thrown to us. We spoke a lot around that, on how we deal with. Yolanda, you said it quite nicely. We juggle so many things, and it's the balancing act. Can you give us some tips on how us as moms within the workplace, what do you believe, when it comes specifically to the work and
Ah,
then at home with motherhood, dealing with everything else, because work never stops for us. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It goes
yeah,
on right till midnight.
yeah.
Can you give us or share with us in your own experience tips, and words of encouragement of how do we actually do this balancing act?
Yeah.
What has worked for you?
Yeah. In terms of the balancing act, it's so important. Like Antonia alluded to this earlier, that self-reflection, that your 10 a.m. 10 p.m. tea time, Melanie going, what, I'm thinking about things. We need to look at ourselves in that equation. So the balancing act is you, your family, your business. Say that's the balancing act, right? So what do we do in corporate? We time manage. It's so important for us women to be time managing, prioritizing our time. And like you said, that process of elimination. Why do I have this on my plate if it's not needed? And to be intentional. If it's on my plate, is this strategically getting my family, myself, my business to where I see the output at the end of the day as something I could rest my head to bed and go, all right,
Mm.
I can pick that up in the morning because it goes back onto my task list. I can see it going somewhere. And then also setting boundaries. That goes with process of elimination. You know what? This is what I'm able to do. Because this is something that men do really well. And we need to look at our men not as the opposite sex that we are fighting. We are inviting men to the table. We want them to invite us to the table because we have different skill sets. You know, I saw in the chat someone said women are more nurturing in nature. Absolutely, absolutely. So if we could have, and men are like that. If they cannot do it, their no is a firm no, not a maybe no, not a I'll see no. No, I can't. And that's where we accept it to end. But with us, we always leave that dot dot dot. And I'll see. I can't, but I'll see what I can do. Why do we feel the need to say that last part? But I'll see what I can do because we're almost committing, non-committing, right? So we need to also find that grace within ourselves to set firm boundaries.
Yeah.
You can only set firm boundaries if you have prioritized your time. When you know in a
Yeah.
day what you are doing, if you are wishy-washy about that and you say no, guilt sets in because then we don't realize we also have to factor in self prioritization, self care. We cannot feed from an empty cup, and like I said, we refill automatically. But that is so important. We feel
Absolutely.
guilty as women when we kind of go, all right, so I need that 5 minutes away. A mum of a weeks old baby and a toddler. You feel bad when you say, "Mummy can't." You feel
Yeah.
like I'm the worst mom in the world. But what if Mummy
Yeah.
can't? For 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes is exactly the break that you need to go. But now Mummy can, because we're so used
100%.
to, and in culture as well. And I'll stop here because it's such an exciting topic for me as well.
I'm
In
telling you,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful topic, but I want to pose this particular question. This question I always am curious about. We spoke a lot around the work environment. We spoke a
yeah,
lot about how we engage with our counterparts when we are, in the boardroom. But the one question I think we haven't, or the one scenarios, or some scenarios we haven't touched on, is what are we expecting from our organizations, our place of work? What is it that will make us or give us some sort of comfort when we go to work? We know that we are going in. It's like, working from leaving home to go home. What would make us feel that comfort? And what is it that we're wanting from our CEOs or our organizations or our management, people in power that has this power to make these particular decisions?
is that an open question to anyone?
Open question to
Yeah,
anybody.
I would just start with
Okay.
saying voice. Give women the voice, and then also we're not closed up to the mentality. Like men have this mindset, they support women, but you know what, the mindset hasn't really changed. And that's a cultural thing. That's the intergenerational thing. It's no fault of that man, right? But just a voice and respecting the opinion, what comes out of that mouth. That's a good start. But that also goes both ways. Both ways. And working on yourself, both as a woman and as a man, and pushing, the diversity, inclusion, and equity within your organizations as CEOs for women, and making that cultural fit be a part of your DNA and not something that's an add-on that needs to take place.
If I can
Anybody
just
else?
come, I mean, if I can just come in here as well, because everybody's talking, is like, I'm not a part of it, but I want to be a part of it. So as I second what Yolanda is saying, but I can also speak about my experience in my workplace. So in government, I must say our DDGs and our HODs and our ministers and our premier has been very much opened up, allowing females to sit on the same platform as the male. If you look at government as being run with 60% of female in senior top management, it's not men taking control. It's the women are out there. We are striving, we are growing, and we are also upskilling ourselves and raising kids. And then we don't get easy kids. Okay, you get parents that have kids that's got ADHD, ADD. There's autistic, kids with special needs, kids that's got all kinds of disabilities, and we have to adapt. But adapting as a mother and uplifting yourself professionally and putting yourself on that landmark. Look here, I'm going to become the next TDG. I'm going to become the next HOD. That is what women are striving for today. I'm not going to be stuck in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant every year, or just barefoot and pregnant, or just stuck in the kitchen. I'm very sorry. I play golf. I see somebody made a comment there. I play golf. I go out clubbing because I ain't old. I gym. I do everything that a normal individual will be. But first and utmost, my main responsibility is being a mother. I go to work, 6:30, I'm sitting in the office. I get home, my youngest needs to go to soccer. He needs to go to catechism. I need to go to mass at certain times during the week because it's part of my spiritual journey as well. So I think out there in government, I'm just talking in brackets about government now, they are giving females the platform to grow. They don't just see you as another chick in the street with a short skirt on or whatever. They see you as somebody who can make a change and a difference. And the difference is what we are giving back to the community that we serve. Because if the community just sees male, they get afraid. They don't come out and talk. If they see a female, they feel that motherly instinct. We can go talk to this person. And with that, we use that and we implement in order for us to implement policies so that policies can start flowing and things can get done, and we can secure land, we can give houses, we can help people with SASSA money that's needed. So using us as a female to put us out there in top management in order for us to communicate with the communities outside is awesome. And I think in government, they've got the right brain with what they are doing now. It's no longer a man world alone. It's a mommy world as well. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. It's good to hear, when different people share different aspects of things, because in the corporate world, it's an unknown for now, but hopefully that would change. I think, is there any other
Comment. Oh,
comments or views? Aloysius, he's
I know
raised
it's
his
a
hand.
lady's chat. I just wanted to come back on Melanie's words with regards to government. That's fantastic to hear. However, we also just need to be very honest about it. It depends on what sphere of government we are speaking about with regards to them actually looking at the employment equity from a woman's perspective. That is just something that I've noted. Second to that, comedy, you might have missed, but I think Nadia has asked a question. Have we seen women included in the DEI strategy of companies? I would like to hear from yourself, from Antonia, as well as from Yolanda and Melanie, where Melanie's obviously given a bit of the strategy that government from her side has given, which is Western Cape government. And if why I'm not pushing Western Cape government from a voting perspective, it's just Melanie's obviously said they're doing a fantastic job on that. So for the listeners, we are not saying vote for anybody. We're just saying that's what's currently happening there. And then second to that, obviously the question from Nadia Solomons.
And there's another question from Kyle Hendricks
Yeah,
as well. Yeah, I've tried
100%.
to answer Nadia a bit commonly.
I saw.
So the other ladies can go. You can. Yeah, I've given my response in writing.
Cool. Anybody else? Okay,
So
nobody
Nadia's
else.
talking about the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. Have we seen the woman elevation come through in any of organizations or companies' strategies? I've just responded to say
I
yes, definitely in ours. I've seen it come through.
Yeah. Many organizations we also deal with on a day-to-day basis, we've seen highlights of them coming through, nothing too concrete, but just touch and go. There are pockets of them, and it will be good to see much more of it. And I think as we move on and people are more open to change in terms of what is acceptance for them specifically, I think we would definitely see more of that. But from my side, that's literally what I have seen on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I think Kamani, it's now let's stop the lip service and let's actually see
Yes.
it and feel it. And I
Yeah.
always say, if you put something in a strategy, what is the measure of performance? Let's see the impact. Is it having
Yes.
impact? Because that's the bottom line. Yeah.
I just want to jump in there as well. That impact, that is important. What do we go to work for? For outputs, right? So we're going to have the right people based on merit, whether they're women or men. You know what, they need to fill a bottom line. But also, how do we even measure that stat? Because let's move from lip service into actionable steps. Because it's a nice talk around the boardroom table, but have you guys noted, ladies noted, sorry, that it's always a on the agenda again at next board meeting. So how are we measuring that? And do we have proper stats to back it up? So when we say we've been chatting about this for the past 5 years, what percentage of our top corporates, our top private companies has really actioned that? And I'm not talking about the pocketfuls. I'm talking about, is it now becoming a industry norm? A president that is set where they are employing women, especially in your leadership capacities, in your high earning pool, your high income pool, your high talent pool, whatever you want to call that pool. We need to measure as well.
Yeah.
We need to measure.
Yeah.
If I might come in there, ladies, before we go,
Yeah.
before
And I mean, if you look at the latest stats, Yolanda,
Comedy, I just want to
yeah,
come in.
we've got 10 minutes left, but I just want to stay. Sorry, I just want to state this just based on Yolanda and Antonio and Melanie, what they stated around this is that, I mean, if we look at the recent stats, it's literally just 26.5% of women that occupy top management. So I think that should speak volumes for you. I don't even need to go into detail in Southern Africa in comparison to the 73.5% of men that sit in these types of top tier roles. So I guess there is a little bit of a push, but I mean, there's no comparison. I can't even state any further than that. But yeah, sorry, Aloysius, you wanted to say something.
Thank you so much, Comedy. You said exactly what I was going to say. Great minds think alike, it seems. What I'm getting at is, and I'm hoping the listeners are noting, as much as the topic seems to be around women, the emotionality, the problems, the solutions of what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, what they are doing personally to be somebody in this world, the reality is we as males need to come to the table. We're speaking about a subject that obviously needs implementation immediately. So I'm not being biased. The Customer Service Symposium brand has been created for this very purpose. And on the 1st and the 2nd of August at the Chatsworth Castle in Johannesburg, this will be one of the topics that will be showcased. One of the presenters, our Kamani Naidoo, will be speaking about this topic, presenting it much more in depth than she has today. Antonia Oakes will be speaking about a topic that will blow everybody away and brains for day. So you will be listening to Dr. Yolanda Petersen as well at the event. And there's many other leading females in South Africa that will be speaking. I'm hoping that the listeners can act as the voices for these women out there in South Africa to ensure that we all get together on the 1st and 2nd and we create a plan that is sustainable, that we can implement, so that in 2025 we can all get together again in Johannesburg and discuss and ensure that certain organizations that we all work with on the daily have implemented the proper strategies to ensure that South Africa grows for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I think from my side, I want to first thank our panel that has been here to give their thoughts, etc., and also to share the challenges, as a mom, or motherhood, or even as even a dad, a single dad, within the workplace, and how we've overcome this. Just in conclusion, I'd like to wish everybody a happy, blessed Mother's Day. Go out there, celebrate, even if you leave the creche at home, just go and celebrate, enjoy, embrace yourself for everything that you've done. I know many women and many moms and dads, single dads out there. There's nobody there to acknowledge you of or see or everything that you've done. But just know that you yourself know that. So pat yourself on the back, continue doing good work, raise good, strong kids, so that they can see who you are as moms and dads. Celebrate the day. So go forth, do good, and we will see you guys on the 1st and 2nd of August up in Johannesburg, at the castle, and where we could possibly meet each other in person. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody here on the panel and in the audience. Thank you again to the Customer Service Symposium for bringing this topic out. It really has been great to be with you guys. Thank you again. Take care, farewell, and we will see you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone. Absolutely amazing. Well done, Bianca. Well done, Elle. Well done to you guys.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. And happy Mother's Day to all the incredible,
Yes.
incredible women out there, as well as our incredible fathers who's playing that role. Yeah. You all enjoy
Awesome.
Yeah, I think Alois is waiting for a Mother's Day gift the way he's sitting. Don't worry, Alois. We'll send something by Net Flores for you. Thank you so much for opening up this platform for us. Please don't now stop doing this. Women needs to be heard. Mothers needs to be heard. We need to share our fears. We need to share our successes. And we also need to reach out, because there's a lot of parents or moms out there that feels alone and feels that they don't have a structure to go to in regards to support. So maybe open up this platform, maybe a once a month or half an hour, 30 minutes, invite other parents, moms on these platforms as well as dads, and maybe make them also speakers so that they can also share the experiences and way forward for us to help all of us here as moms also. But thanks, Bianca and Alois, it was awesome. Kamani, Yolanda and Antonia, I'll see you in Johannesburg. Yolanda, I'll see you
Yes.
before that. We've got unfinished business. But
I'll
thank
see you in
you.
Cape Town, Melanie. I
Oh,
need to
yes.
meet with you.
Oh, okay. You can please
Thanks,
call my
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.